You've always been a failure, until we carried you. Uncle David's voice rang out across the long dining table, bold and smug, loud enough to rise above the clinking glasses and murmured conversations. He raised his wine glass high like he had just delivered the punchline of a joke only he found funny. A few people laughed. Not because it was clever, but because that's what they always did. Laugh when Uncle David spoke. Nod when my father smirked. Pretend not to hear when my mother kept cutting her steak, eyes focused on the plate like nothing happened. And me? I sat there quietly, swirling my drink, eyes scanning the people seated at the long, expensive dining table. My family. My ungrateful, entitled family. All enjoying the $50,000 vacation I paid for. Every plane ticket. Every bottle of wine. The private chef. The oceanfront villa. They basked in luxury, gifted by the family embarrassment, the septic tank guy. Me. I wasn't Matt, the golden child who inherited the family business and promptly ran it into the ground. I wasn't Olivia, the darling daughter who married a rich lawyer and hosted charity galas like she was born to perform. I was the black sheep. The dropout. The man who chose grit over gloss. Dirt over diplomas. The Duke of Drains, Matt once called me at a Christmas dinner, trying to sound funny. Captain of the cesspools, Uncle David had added, grinning like he'd just won something. At least someone in the family knows how to clean up a mess, I'd fired back. Gasps. A few nervous chuckles. Then the same cycle, brush it off, pretend I wasn't serious, laugh at the blue-collar brother who somehow kept showing up with more money and fewer failures. They never asked how I could afford it. Never questioned the designer watch or the high-limit cards. Never checked the numbers when I started winning city contracts and expanding to industrial sites. I wasn't invited to the real table, but I was expected to pay for the tablecloth. I exhaled slowly. The same old anger was bubbling up again, the kind I usually swallowed with wine and forced smiles. But not tonight. I stood up, glass in hand, raising it high. A toast, I said, loud and calm. Forks paused midair. Glasses clinked faintly against porcelain. A few eyebrows lifted. I never made toasts. To family, I began, tone light. To the people who never forget to remind me where I came from. Matt smirked, thinking I was joking. Olivia gave her rehearsed smile. Even Uncle David leaned back, satisfied. I smiled too. And to me, I said, letting my voice sharpen. For paying for this entire trip. The room froze. Uncle David's grin cracked. My mother finally looked up. My father's fingers stiffened around his glass. $50,000, I continued casually, for the villa, the food, the endless wine you've all been enjoying while reminding me I'm still the family joke. I took a sip. Slowly. So cheers, I said, raising my glass again. To the failure who somehow paid for everything. With clean money from a dirty job. Silence. Dead, deafening silence. Matt looked like he'd bitten into a lemon. Olivia forced a little laugh. Oh, come on, she said. David was just joking. Yeah, Uncle David echoed weakly, just a joke. I looked straight at him. Funny. I don't hear anyone laughing. I downed my drink and sat. Just like that, the taste of dinner shifted for them. No one spoke. My father cleared his throat, preparing to say something wise, then said nothing. My mother stared at her plate again. Uncle David drummed his fingers on the table, trying to act like nothing had happened. But I saw it. I saw the truth settling in. What's wrong? I asked, voice steady. Hard to swallow the truth? Or just hard to admit that the failure bought your filet mignon? It's not about money, Matt muttered, setting down his fork. It's about status. I laughed. Oh really? And tell me, does status pay the bills? He straightened, trying to recover. Don't be simple-minded. We're building a legacy. A family name that means something. You wouldn't understand. I drummed my fingers on the table. You mean your legacy of unpaid loans and failed expansions? Matt's eye twitched. Who paid for last year's losses? Right, Dad. Another loan. And Olivia's boutique? Still in the red, isn't it? I leaned in. And yet I'm the joke? I'm the one who doesn't belong? When I'm the only one here who can pay for all this without calling the bank. Matt clenched his jaw. That's not the point. Oh, I know what the point is. If you're broke but wear a suit, you're a visionary. If I'm rich but wear boots, I'm a disgrace. My mother finally spoke, her voice calm and cold. Money isn't everything. I took another sip. Tell that to the waiter. Silence fell again. Thick. Suffocating. Familiar. Matt stared at the floor. Olivia focused on her wine. My father exhaled slowly, the way he did when trying not to yell. Uncle David kept drumming. This whole vacation, I said, is built on the lie that we're still the same family we once were. But we're not. I'm not. Matt rolled his eyes. Here we go. You all act like I'll never belong, I interrupted. Because I chose to do something different. Because it isn't respectable. Because I didn't ask for your permission before I built something real. No one disagreed. No one tried to deny it. That was all the confirmation I needed. I swirled my glass and let out a soft laugh. Well, here's a reality check, I said. Prestige doesn't pay the bills. Status doesn't put food on the table. And respect? It's worthless if it only flows one way. Matt pushed back his chair. You think you're better than us? I met his eyes. No. I just know my worth. He opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came out. He stormed out onto the balcony, slamming the door behind him. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. That's the difference between us, I said. When it gets uncomfortable, I stay. You run. My father looked tired. My mother stayed silent. I stood up. Where are you going? Olivia asked quietly. To enjoy the rest of my vacation. I turned toward the door, pausing just once. You're welcome. And this time, I wasn't cleaning up the mess they made. I sat alone on a lounge chair outside the resort suite, a glass of whiskey trembling slightly in my hand. My uncle's words from dinner echoed like a slap on repeat, a real man doesn't work with his hands. The soft, golden lights of the luxury hotel couldn't soften the burn in my chest. I couldn't understand why. I paid for this entire vacation. I booked the best resort, all-inclusive, with ocean view suites and a private chef. I just wanted my family to have something special. And yet, instead of gratitude, I got mockery. To them, I wasn't family, I was just a wallet. The door behind me creaked open. I didn't even need to turn. It was my mother. Sweetheart. She began, voice tentative, eyes tired. Your uncle got a little carried away at dinner. You know how he gets after a few drinks. I let out a bitter chuckle. So, getting drunk now gives you a free pass to humiliate someone in front of the entire family? That's not what I meant. Don't take it so personally. You know everyone appreciates this trip. None of this would have happened without you. Oh, I know, I said, still staring at the horizon. They all enjoyed the vacation, but they never thanked me for it. Not once. No one asked if I was okay, if I was happy. I'm just the ATM, the driver, the cook. The servant. She went quiet. Then softly, she said, "Don't be so selfish, son." That word hit me like a brick. Selfish. Me. Selfish. Good, I said, rising to my feet. Thanks, Mom. Now I know exactly what I need to do. I walked past her, back into the suite, and slammed the door behind me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. Focused. Cold. It was like something inside me had snapped and died, leaving behind someone new, someone who had finally seen the truth. I had bent over backward, sacrificed, given everything for them, but they never really saw me. I opened my laptop, logged into the booking system, and searched for the earliest flight out, for one person. Then I picked up the phone and called the resort's management. Hello, this is Mr. Callahan, the guest who booked the 10-room family suite for 12 people. I'd like to make a few changes. Yes, of course, sir. How can we help you? I'll be checking out tomorrow morning. And I'd like to terminate all active services under my name, no more food, wine, transport, or entertainment for the rest of the group. There was a pause on the other end. Sir. You're requesting to cancel all ongoing services for the rest of your party? That's correct. Don't worry, they can pay for themselves. I'm sure they brought credit cards. Are you sure about this, sir? Very sure. If they ask, tell them to contact me, but I won't be answering. The next morning, I left the hotel at 5 a.m. No one saw me go. I left a single note on the coffee table in the main suite, not a goodbye, not an apology. Just this. I paid $50,000 to be disrespected. I won't pay another cent for your comfort. I got into the taxi, headed to the airport, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. By noon, my phone exploded with messages. Mom, where are you? The hotel says services are cancelled. Olivia, my cousin, are you serious right now? Grow up and come back. Uncle, you ungrateful brat. Is this how you treat family? I read every message. I replied to none. They would now have to pay for everything: meals, drinks, tours, boat rentals, massages, transportation. They couldn't afford it. Not without me. I was the only one with cash on hand. They'd either have to cancel activities, leave early, or worse, beg the bank to raise their credit limits. And I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. That night, I got back to my apartment. Small, quiet. But it was mine. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't need background noise. Just the wind outside my window, and silence. And for the first time in years, I felt peace. I used to believe that family meant unconditional love. That if I gave enough, worked hard enough, they'd value me, respect me. But I was wrong. Love doesn't mean obligation. And respect cannot be bought. I will never go back to being the guy I was, the guy who always paid, always drove, always stayed quiet. This time, it's my turn to be silent, and let them sit with the absence they forced me to carry for so long. When I left the villa that night, the air outside felt different, lighter somehow, even though the humidity still clung to my skin. The silence of the ocean waves crashing gently against the shore became my only comfort. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Their laughter, fake, cruel, and careless, still echoed in my ears, and I knew if I turned around, I might hesitate. And hesitation was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. I booked a separate room under a different name in a secluded adult-only resort on the other side of the island. It was quiet, peaceful, everything my so-called family vacation was supposed to be. The concierge didn't question me, didn't ask why I was transferring from the ultra-luxury compound they'd seen on my ID earlier. I must have looked like a man on the edge. In a way, I was. But the real storm was only just beginning. By morning, they noticed I was gone. The texts came first. Innocent, concerned. Hey bro, where'd you go? Didn't see you at breakfast. You okay? Thought we were going snorkeling today? Did you leave your phone somewhere? Mom's worried. Worried. That word made me laugh out loud while sipping pineapple juice under a shaded cabana. Worried, not when they were laughing at my face, not when my uncle called me a walking wallet with no spine. Now they were worried because the person funding their lifestyle had vanished. I didn't reply. By noon, the resort concierge called me. Sir, the guests under your package are reporting service interruptions, transport bookings are cancelled, their spa sessions and boat rides are no longer active. I smiled. Yes, that's intentional. Kindly ensure no further bookings are made under my account. And if they ask, tell them to speak to the man they mocked at dinner. There was a pause on the other end. Understood, sir. Would you like us to provide security should they try to contact you here? No need, I said. They won't find me. By the second day, my sister Olivia posted a passive-aggressive story on her Instagram. Imagine being stranded on an island because someone couldn't take a joke, rolling eyes face emoji. I watched the video of her walking along the beach in designer sandals I paid for, complaining to her followers like she was some tragic figure. The comments flooded in. OMG girl, WTF happened? You deserve better FR, nail polish emoji. She replied with crying emojis and the word betrayed. Betrayed. From the same woman who once asked me to co-sign a loan because she forgot how credit scores work. The same woman who poured wine on my fiancé's dress because she was just joking. It was almost funny. Almost. But the truth was, I wasn't just disappearing from the resort. I was disappearing from them. Permanently. On the third day, I received a call from Dad. For the first time in years, his voice didn't sound authoritative. It sounded off. Son. Come on now. This has gone too far. We can't even get a ride back to the airport. Your uncle's heart condition's acting up. Olivia's crying. Your mother can't sleep. I said nothing. I know what they said at dinner was harsh. But you can't just leave us like this. We're family. Ah. There it was. The final card. Family. The word used like a rope to drag me back whenever they needed me. It was never about love or respect. It was a contract I never signed but was somehow always held to. I finally spoke. You all made it very clear that night. I was just the cash cow, remember? A sad man trying to buy love. He exhaled slowly. It was a joke. No. It wasn't. And if you're worried about getting home, maybe Olivia can cry to her influencer fans. Or Uncle Greg can sell one of his watches. I'm done funding my own humiliation. I hung up before he could reply. That night, I slept deeper than I had in years. Over the next few days, I began setting things in motion, quietly but thoroughly. I contacted my lawyer and froze the joint family bank account I had set up for emergencies. I canceled the supplementary credit cards tied to my name. My sister's gym membership? Gone. The luxury car I co-signed for her? Repossessed within the week. I had warned them for years. Be responsible. Save. Don't rely on me forever. They laughed. They never thought I meant it. But now, the golden goose had flown away, and taken the nest with it. A week after I returned home, Olivia showed up at my apartment. I didn't let her in. She screamed through the door, "You're ruining everything. Do you know how many brand deals I've lost because of this scandal? Everyone's calling me spoiled and ungrateful." I leaned against the door and calmly replied, "Maybe because you are." There was a long silence. Then, softer, "I didn't mean to hurt you." "We didn't mean it." "Yes, you did," I said. "And now you get to live with it." She stood there for a while longer, crying, bargaining. I didn't open the door. Eventually, I heard her footsteps walk away. I wasn't the same man I'd been when I paid for that vacation. That man wanted love so badly, he accepted crumbs in return. This man? He finally understood his worth, and the cost of keeping people around who only valued him for what he could provide. I started therapy. I took a sabbatical from work. I hiked, I read, I learned to cook. I reached out to people who chose me, not because of what I gave them, but because of who I was. And slowly, the silence that used to scare me became a sanctuary. One night, months later, I received a letter. Handwritten. From my mother. She apologized. Said she didn't know how bad it had gotten. Said she missed me. I folded it gently, placed it in a drawer, and let it sit there, unanswered. Because some doors, once closed, should stay that way. It had been 6 months since that vacation, the last time I saw any of them. You'd think cutting off your own family would come with guilt, maybe even regret. But strangely, all I felt was clarity. Like stepping outside on a crisp winter morning and finally breathing clean air after years in a smoke-filled room. I didn't expect an apology. But what came instead? That surprised even me. The collapse was slow at first. Like a hairline crack in a dam, barely visible but widening with each passing week. It started with Olivia. Apparently, losing her brand deals after the vacation scandal triggered a domino effect. Sponsors backed out. Her follower count plummeted. She tried pivoting, started posting sad, self-pitying videos about toxic family drama and fake support systems. It didn't land. No one was buying the influencer victim act anymore. She posted a teary YouTube vlog titled "My Brother Abandoned Me." In it, she painted herself as a loving sister who just wanted to make memories on a tropical trip, but got blindsided by my ego. She conveniently left out the part where she called me pathetic in front of a dozen people. The comments weren't kind. "Girl, you called your brother a walking wallet. Maybe don't bite the hand that feeds you? Actions have consequences." Her tears didn't turn sympathy, they became memes. Next came Uncle Greg. The man who once boasted about always landing on his feet suddenly couldn't afford to fix the transmission on his imported BMW. I found out through a mutual acquaintance that he tried borrowing money from one of his golf buddies, and was turned down. Apparently, the word was out, Greg had burned too many bridges. The fun uncle with the flashy lifestyle was now the broke uncle with maxed out credit cards. I didn't feel joy hearing that. Not exactly. But I did feel vindicated. And then there was my father. The man who used to sit at the head of every table, the one whose silence could silence a room, was now silent himself. After I froze the family account, I learned he had no savings. None. Not because he never made money, but because he always expected me to pick up the slack. Retirement? Gone. The house? On the market within months. I didn't know if it was pride or shame, but he never reached out again. Not after that last phone call on the island. And my mother? The woman who sent the letter? She tried calling. Once. I let it ring. Meanwhile, I was building something new. Without them siphoning my time, energy, and money, I began investing in myself. I took up photography. I traveled alone. I joined a hiking group where nobody knew my last name or how much I made. I even reconnected with an old college friend, Ava. She remembered me before the money, before the pressure. We had coffee one afternoon, and it turned into dinner. Then another. Then late night talks about life, forgiveness, boundaries. You're allowed to choose peace, she said once. Even if it means walking away from blood. I hadn't cried in a long time, but that night, I did. Not because I was sad. But because someone finally understood. One morning, nearly a year after the vacation, I received an email. It was from Olivia. Subject line, please read. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Hey, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. But I've lost everything. My accounts are empty. I'm 2 months behind on rent. And I think I finally understand how much I took you for granted. I said horrible things. Things I can't take back. But if there's any part of you that still remembers the little sister who used to beg you to play Mario Kart with her, please, help me. I don't want money. Just a chance to talk. Please. I stared at the screen for a long time. And you know what? For a moment, I felt something. Not anger. Not pity. Just sadness. Because the girl who used to beg me for video game rematches was long gone. Replaced by someone who learned to weaponize charm and tears until it all came crashing down. I didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either. People love to say, you don't get to choose your family. But that's not entirely true. You may not choose how you're born, but you do get to choose who you keep in your life. Who you trust. Who you bleed for. For years, I let guilt guide my every decision. Every expense, every favor, every silence was born from fear of being called ungrateful, or worse, selfish. But the truth? Selfishness isn't always a sin. Sometimes, it's survival. A few months later, I hosted a small dinner at my apartment. Just 6 people, friends who had become my real family. The ones who never asked for anything except my time and sincerity. After dinner, Ava leaned over and whispered, "You seem lighter." I nodded. I finally learned to stop feeding people who only come to eat. She smiled. And now you've got room at the table for those who bring something too. That night, as I washed dishes with music playing in the background, I realized something. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of being alone. Because I wasn't. It was a Sunday morning, quiet, cold, with a kind of gray sky that feels like a pause button on the world. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee when the buzzer rang. No one ever came unannounced. Not anymore. I walked to the intercom and pressed the button. Yeah? A pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in over a year. It's Mom. I didn't move for a moment. My hand just hovered near the button like it was holding something toxic. She came all this way, I told myself. I could ignore it. Let her stand out there in the cold. But some part of me, maybe the version of me who used to say yes to everything, opened the door. She stood in the hallway with a small paper bag in her hand, wrapped in a scarf I remembered from years ago. She looked thinner. Older. Like someone who had stopped pretending. "Hi," she said softly. "Come in," I replied, holding the door. We sat in the kitchen. She didn't ask for coffee. She didn't ask for anything. She placed the bag gently on the table and pushed it toward me. "I found some things," she said. "From when you were a kid. Old drawings. A Father's Day card you made for your dad when you were 7. I didn't open it. I don't need reminders of who I used to be," I said quietly. She nodded. "I know. I just thought. Maybe you'd want to see what it looked like when we still loved each other." That stung. But I didn't react. I just looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't the same woman who used to tell me I was being dramatic when I said I was tired. She wasn't the same woman who let my sister mock me at dinner without stepping in. This version of her looked like someone who had finally been humbled by life. "I'm not here to ask for money," she said after a moment. "I'm not even here to ask for forgiveness." "Then why are you here?" She took a long breath. "Because I realized something. After your father and I lost the house. After Olivia got evicted from her fancy apartment. After we all hit rock bottom, I kept asking myself what changed. Why our family fell apart." She looked me in the eye. "And the answer was you." My jaw tightened. "Wow. Okay. No, listen," she said quickly. "I don't mean you destroyed it. I mean, you changed. You stopped carrying us. And without you holding it all together, everything crumbled. That's not your fault. That's ours." It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever heard from her. Still, I stayed quiet. "I let you be the foundation for too long," she said. "And when the cracks started showing, we blamed you instead of fixing ourselves. I don't expect a second chance. I just needed to say that. To your face. I stared at the steam rising from my coffee mug. She reached into her coat and took out a small envelope. I wrote everything I wanted to say. In case you didn't let me in. She placed it on the table. I'll go now, she said. But. Thank you. For letting me in today. As she stood up, I could feel the weight of what wasn't being said, the years of silence, the holidays missed, the thankless sacrifices, the jokes at my expense, the way they once treated my generosity as an obligation instead of a gift. She walked to the door. And then I said it. I wanted to believe we were a family. She stopped. Her back still turned. I wanted to believe that if I gave enough, of my money, my time, my heart, you'd all see me. Not as a bank. Not as a backup plan. But as a person. She turned to face me. Her eyes were red. I see you now, she whispered. I nodded. I'm glad. But seeing me now doesn't mean you get to come back. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just nodded, opened the door, and left. Later that night, I sat on the balcony, watching the lights of the city flicker like stars that had fallen too far to climb back. I opened the envelope. It was a short letter. No manipulation. No guilt. Just a few honest words. You were the best part of us. We just never deserved you. I hope one day, when you build your own family, your own world, you'll remember how strong you had to be to escape ours. And I hope they love you the way we should have. There were tears in my eyes. But they didn't feel like sadness. They felt like release. It's been 2 years now. Olivia works at a local boutique. Uncle Greg moved in with a distant cousin. My father never called. And my mother? She sends a card every year on my birthday. No notes. Just a card. I never write back. Because closure doesn't require conversation. Sometimes, it's just a door that stays shut. And me? I'm good. I bought a cabin in the mountains. I still take photos. Ava moved in with me last spring, and sometimes we laugh about how I used to think my family's approval was the highest form of success. Now I know better. Now I know that peace is priceless. And I earned every ounce of it.